And so with me again, I've got George Mwangi, and he is actually our Africa Programs Coordinator. He's a colleague of mine. We work with Renew Outreach together in Atlanta, Georgia. He actually came to the Lord at 9 years old through a Jesus film showing, and he leads all of our Africa programs. So he coordinates with all of the nations inside of Africa, working with digital strategies to help with evangelism, to help with discipleship, and to help with multiplication in those areas. And then I also have with me Gladys Makami Karani, and she is currently serving God with KSCF. She's the National Field Coordinator. She has had various roles also in business and in marketing. She is married to Eric Karani, and together they have one daughter. And so I'd like to pass this over to George, and we're going to just discuss, again, I gave you one case study with young children, but we'd like to also, that's working really well. Again, millions of children are being impacted by the Mailbox Club, but also as well as through KSCF. So George, I'd love to pass it to you so that we could hear what our sister Gladys is doing.
Thank you, Larissa. Bwana asifiwe. Amen. Yeah, so as he said, my name is George Mwangi, and I was telling Larissa that I grew up in this country in the 80s and 90s, and at a time where the crusades were everywhere. You go to, maybe your mom sends you to the shop, and you pass like 2 crusades. By the time you're coming back, you see people weeping and giving their lives to Jesus. And then there were Jesus film showings everywhere. And when I was 9, I happened to be playing football in Eastlands, and some missionaries came and started showing Jesus film in Swahili. And they said, who wants to give their lives to Jesus? And is your name written in the book of life? I had never heard about that. So I said, yes, I want my name to be written in the book of life. 1 year later, another group of missionaries came, and they asked the same thing after showing Jesus film. Is your name written in the book of life? So I wasn't sure if my name was deleted, so I registered again. But then later on with discipleship, I realized it's not about your name constantly being written. It's about faith. Once it's written, now you sustain your salvation through faith. But then something shifted. When I got into my teenage leading to 20s, I realized crusades had stopped. And I wondered, how come I no longer see crusades everywhere? No one is really reaching this new generation actively. And I later realized the answer to that question is that what I used to think was normal life was actually not normal. I grew up around a revival. And I know Bishop Stephen Mutua can agree because he was part of that. He was working with Reinhard Bonnke and others during that time, and I was just a 9-year-old. But then, now we've grown up, and it's been almost 20 years of that silence without crusades, and this is our opportunity to, in marketing they say, if you want to sell a product, you go where the customers are. So this generation that has been passed with all these street crusades, we know where they are. Those are the customers. Where are they? They say 80% are in schools. And like, for example, in Kenya, every year, 1 million students in high school graduate and they go back to the streets. So if you don't go to schools, that means 1 million just came out without you taking that opportunity. And today is not about me. We want to see, I was just saying that to set the stage. We want to hear from Gladys Karani. Gladys Karani works with KSCF, which is Kenya Student Christian Fellowship. And she's the national field coordinator. And what they do, they strategically go to those schools and evangelize. Kenya has around 10,000 plus high schools, and I believe they have access to like 8,000 of them. So Gladys, how do you do this in the areas of prayer, evangelism, discipleship, and Bible engagement?
Thank you. And so my name is Gladys once again, and serving the Lord with Kenya Student Christian Fellowship. KSCF was formed in 1958, and they have continued doing the student ministry in the high schools. The area of prayer is that it's a call, student ministry is a call from the Lord. And we have people who have received the call and have answered, and they reach out to the students. What we do is that we work with volunteers, people who come from the churches, individuals, professionals, even the university students, they come to us, and we train them, the needs of the students, how to evangelize, how to reach out to the students in terms of discipleship. And we also train and equip high school workers in the area of prayer. How do we handle this? We have materials that guide the missioners who go to schools, so that we are uniform and teach the students what is prepared for them. And we have materials that guide the missioners who go to schools. And so what we do is that we reach out to, at the moment we're reaching out to 44 counties in this nation. That is only 3 counties that we have not reached. That is Garissa, Mandela, and Wajir. But of course, now the rest, KSCF is on the ground. And KSCF is me and you, those who have received the call to reach out to the students. And once you come to us, we equip you for the student ministry, and then give you the materials so that you are able to train the students. That has been happening, and so far, we are reaching out to more than 8,000 high schools. And as you know, that we have more than 10,000 high schools in Kenya. And so we have a great impact in school, where we are preaching the gospel. After we evangelize, we disciple them, walk with them, and train them in many areas. In fact, in the area of prayer, because we understand that most students don't know how to pray. In fact, they are not even born again to know how to pray and what is prayer. And so we evangelize to them, and also as we disciple them, teach them on prayer, which is very important.
Yeah, so basically, when you reach students, you're able to help them why they should pray and how to effectively pray, so that there is a high chance of their prayers being answered, right?
Yes, one of the things we do is that we try and teach them that there is a God who hears our prayers, and we can't live without prayers, the need of prayer. And what we do is that the associates, we call them associates, those people that we send to reach out to the students, and we equip them on what to teach the students, because we have some guides for the missioners, and these guides are available, where now the people who come to us and say we have received the call, we equip them so that they're available every week to go to school. That is, we have weekday services, maybe Monday to Friday, and then we have weekend services. We have Sunday services where we have the whole school. We also have a discipleship class where a missioner dedicates themselves to visit a school every week and disciple their students. And that way you can adapt like 2 schools where you offer your time. The students, the schools in Kenya, most of the time they're given only 1 hour per week for the meeting. I know there are teachers in this place, and they can attest to that, in Kenya, the CU, the Christian Fellowship, they have only 1 hour for the whole week, unless now it's a boarding school where they have the weekend, where we have the Sunday service. And so the time is so minimal. But of course now, if the minister, the missioner is focused, that time can be maximized to train the students and have transformation. Do I give a transformation story?
Yes, actually, yeah, because I see, anyway, yeah, I was just about to jump into that. So, before that, what are some of the challenges you've seen, like in doing that, in evangelism and in schools?
One of the biggest challenges we have right now is that there's a lot of secularism. And to really find a devoted student, it really takes a lot of work for us to work with them. Because you understand that many times they're in the school, and the one in charge of them is the CU patron. And so the biggest challenge that we have at the moment is to have that student transformed, seeing that student living for God, not just a testimony, I'm born again, and then participating in the things of the world, someone who is able to defend their faith and really stand for it, and the fruit are evident that this person is born again. And so we have a lot of work to do so that we can be able to work with them and see them transformed. The challenge is having someone who will be consistent to visit the school consistently without giving up, and praying for them and seeing the Lord transforming them. And that one, I know that is going to bring a shift, because I know people will dedicate themselves to work with the students. And I know most of us here, just like we have been taught in the first session, that you'll adapt a school where you want to see transformation. Yes.
Talk of transformation. You told me there is a transformation story you encountered in a slum here in Nairobi called Mukuru. So you want to share that story of how impact was really felt?
Yes. I served as a school ministry facilitator in Nairobi County several years ago in 2014. And I've seen many transformation stories, but of course I want to zero in one, where I went to a school in a slum. And when I went there, I found that they were so cold spiritually. And when it was time for singing, only a few were singing. When it was time for prayer, they were looking at me. And I couldn't, when I was praying, I was so deep. When I opened my eyes, I found they were all looking at me. And then when it came now, I asked them how many are born again. And they were all laughing and joking, and they were lifting their both hands. There was a lot of jokes. And I asked the teacher, how comes, why are they joking? They said we have a big problem in this school. The matter of spirituality, because some are addicted to drugs, and some of them we have cases, they are rebellious, and so there are only a few who are born again, like the CU chair, and only a few who they know they are born again. And it really was a burden in my heart. And I said that God helped me to get a strategy. I called some of the missionaries in Nairobi County, and I asked them, I told them the story, and I asked them, I would like you to assist me in this. And we talked about that. I got one evangelist and 2 disciples, and we committed ourselves. The teacher gave us a permission where to be going there twice a week. One day for evangelism, the other day for discipleship. And that continued. And I left them doing the work. And after, say, 1 year, and so I went back to the school. And when I went there, I found people were praying. And really, even some were kneeling. And when it's time for singing, some were closing their eyes, others were raising their hands. And I couldn't control my tears. And I was there, I couldn't speak anything, but I was just thanking God that there's a transformation. And I asked them, how many are sure that they're going to heaven if Jesus comes? And whenever you die, when you go to heaven? And I saw most of them were very sincere, their hands were lifted up. And I really saw the work of discipleship is very important in a school, where the students are convinced things about salvation. And then I called for an altar call. And I couldn't see many coming in front because I realized that, they were all aware that when you get born again, you only get born again once. And so this discipleship is very important. And I can tell you right now, our students are in school. Our youth, they're not, unless someone is in day school, they're in boarding, gathered somewhere. And they only have one person taking care of them, maybe 2. The CU patron and the chaplain. But of course now, KSCF comes to tell us that you are also part of the ministers in the school. That the school in the neighborhood, you can adapt one, go there, disciple them on a weekly basis, and it will happen. And so I'm telling you, transformation is very evident, very notable, as we work with the students, and we see that they are changed. And so that story came up that their lives were changed. And they stopped singing secular music, and some of them, the ones that were addicted, they were prayed for, and some of them were coming with the testimony that God provided for their school fees, because there were a lot of issues of school fees and other issues. Yeah, it has been transformational as we work with the students.
What I liked about this story is transformation came when there was consistency. So adoption looks like consistency. Thank you very much.